Welcome back to another exciting edition of Let's Run Frostmaiden. I'm Zach, and this is Fail to Crit. Well, thank you for joining me for Chapter 5. Hopefully your players left enough of 10 towns alive to still be useful, maybe get some last-minute potions and everything else. Before we get into that, real quickly, I just want to give a shout out to Ecosia. They're not paying me, but I think any search engine that gives its profits to trees is just pretty elvish. And again, if you want to smell like an elf, check out Figs and Feather Farm Soap. It's a small business, it's local around here, and I just think it's cool to support small business whenever you get the chance. Be on the lookout too. I believe she's producing a special Frostmaiden edition soap. So it's kind of niche, but I think it's pretty cool. So check it out. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description below. And as always, if you like any of this content, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe. We really could use the support. Now let's get into Chapter 5. So what's left of 10 towns? Your players might have quite a bit of chaos in their wake, but if they're able to defeat the Chandelier Dragon, it's time to push forward and deal with Oriel. Now, Valin Harpel makes a very strong case as to where she might be and why they need to get there and really end this Rime that's cursing these towns. Now, more than ever, the citizens of 10 towns deserve a break. So it's onward to the Sea of Moving Ice. So you've got 3 paths getting to the island. You can hitch a ride with the sperm whale on Ganjuk. You can catch a ship's passage from Revel's End that usually brings supplies or convicts to the prison. Or you can get to the Akhenathi Goliaths and see if they'll let you borrow some griffins, pending you've done enough missions with them and earned some goodwill. I think the cooler way to go, though, is definitely with On Ganjuk. Not only is it neat to travel under the sea, but you can just do so much with the narration and the awe of that under the glacier, oceanic life. There's just no way your players are used to that and what it looks like to be down there. And there's so much you can draw on in our pop culture with National Geographic-esque pictures and just the idea of what it's like to be in that kind of an Arctic Circle underwater. It's just so wild and alien. I think that, to me, it's the most compelling route. Booking travel from Revel's End, you're just hopping aboard. It'll cost you some gold. Pretty safe. The Griffins, too, would be a cool route, especially if you want to describe some of the other locations of the Dale that you may want the players to go back and visit. The Griffins with their flight, though, are easily the fastest way. So let's talk about the approach and the Isle of Solstice. The island itself is shaped like a snowflake, but it's a giant iceberg. And you should really kind of get into how unique this is, right? Huge 200-foot cliffs protruding out in all directions. As you approach from sea, this would be like a giant wall of ice as you sail around it for maybe, hours trying to find a place where you can breach or entry. There's a dock at the southeast corner, but even this dock was made for ice giants. So it itself is also large and requires climbing. Everything about this island should feel massive and desolate. It's the lair of the goddess that's cursed the area. It should feel imposing, and you really want to sell that with all of your descriptors. Sheer ice walls, massive cliffs. All around the island are these wreckages of frost giant longships, meant to distract or even act as a warning for your players that this is going to be incredibly perilous. Add to that the regional effects. Ariel's presence and her will is manifest on the island and controls the realm. There's limited visibility, thick fog fills the air, there's snowstorms, there's thick snow to march across. Everything about this should just feel desolate and frozen. Everything here is bitter cold and frozen solid. Capped off with the Garden of Death, because what would a frozen ice goddess be without a hobby, I guess? It's a cool visual. I think the giant ice sculptures, the deer and the yeti and the trees, it's a really neat place to describe for your players. If nothing else, to describe just the sheer power that this goddess has over the island. Other than that, there's not much to explore on the glacier itself. With the culmination of Grimscale Keep in the center, that giant tower with a skull edifice on it would be such a beacon that I can't imagine your players spend too much time wandering around looking aimlessly when there's such a clear go here style castle in the middle of it. And Grimscale Castle is indeed the gem of this crown. It's beautiful. It was once a frost giant queen's castle. Everything in it is adorned and stylized for battlement, and a fortress fit to be worshipped. The book gives some cool features too to the castle. Everything's giant-sized. You've got giant-sized furnishing, passageways. The dimensions in the rooms are all meant for frost giants. Everything, including the accessories and the treasure, is for giants, so it's practically not usable, but very cool to envision. Ice and mist cover the entire castle. All the surfaces are made of ice. Everything is smooth and opaque, semi-reflective, so anything that's in there has kind of got this stock feel to it. And a great place to have a final fight with the Goddess of Winter. Well, 3 fights. She has 3 phases that you have to beat, and you have to beat each of them within a certain time before they reform. In addition to that, her rock is up at the top. You need to destroy that, or else she'll just keep making it night. The only way to end the Rime is to defeat the rock and the 3 forms of the Ice Maiden. And if that wasn't bad enough, even if you beat her or chase her off, you still have to go through the trials of the Frostmaiden just to get the Rime that you need to move forward in the campaign. Which is a cool mechanic. I actually like the Trials of the Frostmaiden. I think that it's a great roleplay opportunity. It puts the players in some unique situations where the answer isn't very obvious. And there's a lot of good narration to be had, especially as you're telling the story of these different ragged tribes and how hard it is for life out on the Dale. It's great lore. You can fill out your campaign. You can really get into the setting and remind your players why they're here. There are 4 tests, and at least one person from the party has to complete one of all 4. Otherwise, you can't unlock the vault. You've got the test of cruelty, the test of endurance, the test of isolation, and the test of preservation. All of these astrally project your players out into the Dale as Frostmaiden avatars, where they are to interact with the tribes and either help or hinder them, depending on how they best see fit. It's good storytelling. You get to see the cruelty of Ariel told through how hard she makes life for her worshippers. You also get a chance to experience some of the things that you just can't beat through combat, hopefully giving your players an opportunity to roleplay amongst each other and maybe bring some of your min-maxers out of their shell and into the story. And if successful, you get into the vault and receive this semi-anticlimactic treasure of the Rime of the Frostmaiden, which will help you get into the glacier, which hopefully progresses your story up. One of the things I do like, though, is that you have a chance to end the campaign right here. If they're able to defeat all 3 forms of Ariel, or if they're able to kill the rock, you can end the curse that's plaguing 10 towns. You can go back to 10 towns as heroes. If the draw of the Lost Netheril city doesn't pull your players, great. You've come back, you're heroes, you can move on to other adventures. You should be between level 7 or 8. There's a lot of other campaigns that open up or you can kind of push them into at that range. It's a great segue to anything else your players want to do. You do have the hook set in deep, or the allure of this lost magical city pulls them in. You've got a great rest of the campaign to pull them from 8 to 11. You've got some really cool dynamics that happen underneath this frozen glacier. I really like how the story begins to change and move into more of a horror flick here. And if you feel like your players may not bite on the hook that well, you can also have Ariel escape into the glacier, where the players need to finish the fight by boldly going into this lost city. But don't let me undersell it. Ariel's no slouch. Her 3 forms in this palace or in the Nithril will be tough. And there's some great roleplay opportunity where you can really sell the cruelty and malice that this winter goddess has. As a goddess, Ariel can't really die unless all of her worshippers stop worshipping. So she's not really afraid of death and has no real reason to capitulate to mortals' demands. That being said, she's out here for a reason and definitely doesn't want to be thwarted. Her first form is a haunched, 7-foot-tall, bipeded, kind of twisted owlbear. Her second form steps it up a little bit to a CR10. She presents herself as Lady Icekiss, or the Brittle Maiden, almost an homage to the ice sculpture she's made. Her third form is probably closer to her true form, and this is the Winter's Womb, a 3-foot diameter ice diamond representing a teardrop. All of these should be a pretty good challenge, especially if your party is 8 or less. If you're being true to the world or true to Ariel, she might kill your party. But keep in mind, you kind of have a way out here because that's not her goal. She wants followers and worshippers. So if she pushes your party to the limit, she may threaten or chase them off or try and get them to leave the island in fear so that more rumors would spark of her greatness. So what else can we add here? Well, there's a couple of things to kind of remember as you're going through the chapter. One, The overarching goal here is to actually help the Arcane Brotherhood get to the Lost City. So what you're doing here is really just a means to more treasure hunting, a means to the end. For your players, ending the Rime or saving 10 towns may be kind of in the background. So don't be afraid to lean on either of those hot buttons if you really want to spur them in the direction of moving forward. Take time with your narration. The book has a couple of cool spots for flavor, but as a DM, you should really be selling how unique it is to walk through an ice fortress, right? Seeing your reflection in the translucent ice, just the shadows playing off the walls, the slick floor, falling or slipping, everything being giant size, just making traversing through there really difficult. These are neat little adds that if you talk about them right and bring them up in the right time, you can just get a crazy amount of immersion and really create a new feeling despite it still being a frozen campaign. And hopefully it won't be the frozen end of your party. Well, what do you think? How do we do? Any of this stuff useful? Hopefully, if it was, you'll leave me a like. Bonus action, that like button, share and subscribe. Remember, every new person who sees D&D might be a new player at your table. And with that, I'll see you in Chapter 6. I'll try and roll better the next time. See you then.